the Indiana Pacers sent Bruce Brown Jr., salary filler, and 3 first-round picks to the Toronto Raptors for Pascal Siakam. That's right, you heard me correctly. The Toronto Raptors have finally pulled the parachute cord and dove headfirst into a full rebuild. So before we do anything else, I'd first just like to give them a quick round of applause. Congrats, Toronto. You finally did what people have been telling you to do for years now. But forget those pity claps. Let's get into this trade because I find it really interesting for both sides. Thank you for the love. Like, subscribe, and comment what you think about the trade down below. And welcome to the Sweatshop. Now, if you remember our previous trade video, the OG Anunoby trade, the Sweatshop has a bit of a different grading scale just because we're so different and quirky and not like the other YouTube channels. Instead of giving 1 grade for each team, we give out 3. 1 grade for how the trade affects the team's on-court production, 1 grade to evaluate the exchange in assets, and then a 3rd grade that is just how we generally feel the team did overall. Remember, for these grades, that C is average, so anything above C is good. So with that explanation over, let's get straight into the Pacers side of the trade because I am just gonna tell you right now that they get an A-, encroaching on an A when it comes to how this trade will affect their on-court production. I absolutely love this trade for the Pacers. Indiana has been a very exciting team this year. Tyrese Halliburton has broken out and proven to be one of the most potent offensive engines in the league. Miles Turner has been a lot. Benedict Mathurin is having a solid season. Obi Toppin is capitalizing on the flashes we saw from him in New York. Overall, it's just been a really promising and just fun year for the Pacers. It's nice to have fun sometimes with a team, right? When you snap back to gritty reality though, you can clearly see there are 2 glaring weaknesses for the Pacers that will hold them back from true playoff contention. Number 1, they got that El Matador, part car, 1960s Wilt Chamberlain opponent type defense. The type of defense that doesn't stop you from getting to the bucket, but instead just moves out the way and apologizes for obstructing your progress. If they want to make a serious playoff run now or in the future, they need a better defensive strategy than just having Miles Turner hold everything together like he in Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 2, they got Tyrese Halliburton holding up the offensive production of the entire team on his back like he Atlas. Genuinely surprised his hamstring gave out quicker than his spinal column from backpacking the offensive hopes and dreams of 13 professional basketball players. And this is no slight on Halliburton. I am not listing this as an issue because Halliburton is bad or mid. I truly believe he is good enough to carry this offense to the playoffs. The issue is once the playoffs do happen, the opposing team is going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at Reese to slow him down and force someone else to create. I mean, just look at the finals of the in-season tournament. Darvin Ham had everyone from Cam Reddish to LeBron to AD to the ball boys guarding Tyrese like their lives depended on it. And even though Tyrese still had a very solid, efficient game, he wasn't able to affect every play like he normally does. So the Pacers offense looked a bit more stagnant. So those are the main issues with the Pacers. They have a poor defense and they have Tyrese doing everything offensively, which makes them more susceptible to stagnation in the playoffs. And those are 2 tough issues to fix because they are in Indianapolis. Nobody is signing there, so they have to trade for someone. And on top of that, they have to trade for someone that fits their system and also provides a bit of offensive creation. Oh, hey, Pascal, what's up? And he also has to be a plus defender at the worst, so at the very least, they don't somehow make their defense even more terrible. Oh, wait. Pascal Siakam? Is that the same Pascal Siakam that is a mainstay in the top 10 transition scorers every year, so he will fit perfectly in the Pacers run and gun play style? The same Pascal Siakam who has been the #1 scorer on a playoff team but is best suited as a second option? The same Pascal who is a solid defender and on top of that has a championship pedigree? That Pascal Siakam? Yeah? Oh, perfect. Problem solved then. Pascal Siakam is the perfect answer to all of the Pacers' dilemmas. Good defender, solid playmaker, elite in transition, and playoff proven. And on top of that, he has experience playing next to a high assist, ball dominant guard. I don't think you could have created a better player to put alongside Tyrese in 2K. I think Pascal will unlock a new level to the Pacers on both sides of the court, but especially on offense. And I know what you're thinking. The Pacers literally have the #1 offense of all time. How can Pascal Siakam improve it? And my answer to that is I don't think he will improve the offense in terms of numbers. Rather, I think he'll improve it in terms of versatility. What do I mean by this? Well, walk with me for a bit. We are in the first round of the 2024 NBA playoffs. The Indiana Pacers are playing against the Philadelphia 76ers. The series is 2-0 in favor of the Sixers. The Pacers need to win this game at home or they can kiss their chances at reaching the second round goodbye. They are giving it all they got on offense, but they just can't get anything going. The Sixers are blitzing and doubling Tyrese Halliburton on every possession, so he just doesn't have time to create. To counter this though, Rick Carlisle makes one key change. He switches Miles Turner into the Brook Lopez role without screening. No more screening, strictly spacing, and he turns Pascal Siakam into Draymond Green. No, not like that. I mean his offensive role. Instead of Miles screening and rolling or screening and popping for Tyrese, Pascal is the screener and roller. Joel and Tyrese, Maxey, blitz Tyrese Halliburton coming off the pick, but instead of pulling the ball out, he quickly passes it to a rolling Pascal Siakam. If you are paying attention to the situation I just laid out for you, my dear viewer, you would notice that you now have Pascal Siakam, a very solid secondary playmaker, on a 4v3 with Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, and Buddy freaking Hield ready to catch and bust a three-pointer in someone's eyeball. That to me is just as easy buckets as having Tyrese do everything. Will this exact thing happen? I don't know, maybe, but that's not the point. The point is, because of Pascal's ability to be a secondary creator, there are so many more offensive sets and looks that the Pacers can utilize now. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't just have this part of the grade as an A+, with the amount I've been gassing up how good a fit Pascal is, and there's a couple reasons. One, while he is a good defender, he isn't that much better than Bruce Brown, if at all, the main player asset they gave up in this trade. So while I do think the defense will be better, I don't know if it will be significantly better. Two, Obi Toppin was having a really solid year, and the fit with him, Pascal, and Miles is just weird, positionally speaking. Obi can't play any position but the 4, and neither Pascal or Miles can play the 3, so they are all going to be cannibalizing each other's minutes somewhat. Now, if this was the only trade available, then you really just have to throw your hands up and make your peace with this. Obi Toppin is having a really solid year, but you are not going to throw a wrench in your trade for a literal all-star because he's going to have a weird fit with Obi Toppin. I'm sorry, he's going to the bench. I just think it was possible, especially in the wake of the Raptors-Knicks trade, that the Raptors maybe would have accepted a young player who has shown some promise like Obi Toppin in lieu of like one of those first-round picks. By doing that, you'd be simultaneously capitalizing on Obi Toppin's stock, which quite possibly may never be this high again. You're allowing Obi Toppin the chance to thrive as a starter somewhere else, and most importantly, you're giving the maximum amount of opportunity to your new pair of elite big men. But hey, that is just me splitting hairs. I really don't think the Pacers could have found a better on-court fit than this trade. When it comes to the asset side of this trade for the Pacers, I'll give it a B, assuming Pascal resigns with the Pacers this offseason. Bruce Brown and 3 first-round picks is nothing to sneeze at, but when you look at the other trades for people around this skill level, completely ignoring the contract, this is a steal. Bruce Brown is a solid player, but Pascal is an immediate upgrade, and the Pacers have a young, burgeoning superstar on their team. So assuming good health, their first-round picks is going to be at the best like 20 for the next decade. Again, I would have preferred giving up Obi Toppin in lieu of one of those first-round picks simply because of fit, but that is splitting hairs, and I'm in no hurry to get rid of him. He's a really solid player, and he'll just have to come off the bench. And also, Pascal is about to turn 30, so when he does re-sign, I think the latter years of his contract is going to be a bit of an albatross, depending on how much he declines in production by the age of 34. But I think his game will still age decently well. So we got the trade from a fit standpoint as an A- and from an asset standpoint as a B. You put that together and you're looking at an overall grade of about a B+. Really good trade, about as perfect a trade as you will see. I feel like this will go down in the same category as the Aaron Gordon trade a few years down the line. So now it's time to answer the question asked in the title of this video. Does Pascal Siakam make the Pacers championship contenders? Well, for me, championship contenders need a few things. A bona fide top 10 player in the league, a secondary star who was top 30 in the league and fits alongside the top 10 player, a good coach, a good supporting cast with a good amount of two-way players, and numbers-wise, when you look at their offensive and defensive rankings, they gotta average out to be about like 7.5 to 8. So if you have the first ranked offense and the 20th ranked defense, I'm a question if you're an actual contender. But if you have the first ranked offense and the 14th-ish ranked defense, then I think your defense is good enough so that it doesn't negate your offensive impact. So where does this trade leave the Pacers in each one of these categories? Bonafide top 10 player? Tyrese is looking like it. Now this all depends on how he performs in the playoffs, but if he is a playoff riser or even just stays at the same level, I think you got to put him in there. A secondary star who is a top 30 player in the league and fits alongside your top player? I think I've shown in my previous diatribe that I believe Pascal is easily a top 30 player in the league and a great fit alongside Tyrese. Good coach? Rick Carlisle is a championship-proven, very solid head coach. A good supporting cast with a good amount of two-way players? This is a bit iffy because they do have a good supporting cast. The issue is that the core of their supporting cast is strictly offensive players. Benedict Mathurin is a very solid number 3 on a playoff team offensively, but defensively he isn't really a plus. Jalen Smith is having a nice little breakout season offensively. Defensively isn't a plus. Buddy Hield, one of the best shooters of all time, defensively isn't a huge plus. The players on their roster who I would say are good defenders are Aaron Nesmith, Isaiah Jackson, TJ McConnell, and obviously Miles Turner and now Pascal Siakam. Now I think players like Benedict and the star player Tyrese have the capability to be plus defenders, but I just gotta see it before I bet money on the team. And numbers wise, do I think this team can have an average ranking of 7.5 when it comes to their offensive and defensive rankings? Well, I said previously the addition of Pascal should make their offense even better, and it's already ranked number 1 all time. So the question is if I think the addition of Pascal can improve the Pacers defense from 26 to like 15 or 14. And the answer is, I just don't know. Pascal is a good defender, but they gave up a good defender in Bruce Brown to get him, and they didn't really change anything else on the roster. Could I see a 3 or 4 spot jump in defensive rankings? Maybe. But 11 to 12 spots is asking a lot. So do I think the Pacers are bona fide championship contenders right now? I do not. I think they still need an offseason to refine the edges of their roster and make sure they have at least a league average defense to go along with their league best offense. We also haven't seen Tyrese in the playoffs quite yet, so we won't be sure of anything until we see what kind of postseason player he is. I will say this though. This Pacers team, along with the Knicks, are the last teams the true contenders in the East want to face in a 7-game series, especially the Bucks, a team who the Pacers have dog-walked all year. I'm just saying, if the Pacers and Bucks do match up in the playoffs, I genuinely think it would be a coin flip series. The Pacers have already proven to be a horrible matchup for the Bucks, and now you add in a player who not only makes it hard to just focus on Tyrese when guarding the team, but defensively is another body you can throw at Giannis. If I were Adrian Griffin, I would be tanking games at the end of the season so I did not have to face Indiana in the first round. Now for the Raptors. For them, they will not get an on-court production grade because this trade is very clearly a rebuilding move. There's no way their on-court production is going to get better. They are trying to suck for a few years so they can get good again. Thus, the grade for this trade is not dependent on how it affects their on-court production. It is dependent on what assets they will get in return for their star player. And for that, I gotta give them a C+, for similar reasons that I gave their OG trade a C-. When you look at it from a standpoint of just what they could have gotten for Pascal Siakam, an all-star on an expiring deal, then the trade isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good. I do find it hard to believe that teams like the Warriors or Lakers wouldn't have given up a bit more, but hey, 3 first-round picks for a player on an expiring deal is still nothing to sneeze at, and they probably will get something else for Bruce Brown. The issue is when you look at what the Raptors could have gotten for Pascal if they had hit the rebuild button 2, 3, 4 years ago, can you imagine where they could have been now? What they could have gotten for Pascal? Last year, a good role player, salary filler, and 3 first-round picks was what was rumored to be offered for OG Anunoby, a really good 3-and-D role player. Taking that into account, can you imagine what the Raptors could have gotten for Pascal? A 2-way, multiple-time All-Star with a championship pedigree? I won't speculate, but I bet it would have been a lot more. So yeah, is this a good trade for the current asset that is Pascal Siakam? I think so, but I gotta penalize him just a bit for not hitting the rebuild button sooner. So that's what I think of both teams. The Pacers did a hell of a job with this trade, and the Raptors, even though I think they could have gotten more if they traded Pascal a bit earlier, they still did a really solid job. One thing that is true for both teams though, I'm very intrigued to see how they will develop in the future. With that, thank you my Sweatshopper for the viewership. It means the world to me. If you enjoyed this content, check out our channel. We have a lot of cool stuff for you. Like, subscribe, and comment what you think of the trade down below. And as always, stay sweaty, ladies and gentlemen.